Hey, Bog, Sretan Petak, happy Friday. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and this is 5 Question Friday. Every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, I answer 5 questions about Croatia that people have sent in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatincroatia.com, emails, my consulting sessions, Cam's consulting sessions, and people who stand in front of my window and hold a boombox in the air. I love you, Cam. So we've got 5 wonderful questions today. We also have our lawyer tip of the week, which is a new segment that we're going to be doing. And if you have any questions in real time, drop them in the comments and I'll answer them. I love surprises. So I have a few things to share with you today before we get started with the questions. Last Sunday, I went and spent the day in Trogir. It was super warm and lovely. My friend, who does not like to be named, so I will not, is a very interesting tour guide. He has a completely different approach to history, kind of really digs into the details. And if I'm being honest, I'm a little ashamed because I have not spent a whole lot of time in Trogir. Split, it's very easy to think that Split is the center of the universe when you live in Split. And even though Trogir is like 30 minutes away, I have been there less than 5 times in 12 years. So this was a really nice opportunity to actually spend some time there and kind of look around at all the historical stuff. And they've got some pretty special things there. I put up a ton of pictures on our stories. I hope you got a glimpse of those. I also want to say that I ran into a fan while I was there. So shout out to Kelso. Ran into him as we were leaving, and he said, "I saw you were going to be in Trogir today," and I was like, "Oh, cool! Hey!" So really nice to meet you, Kelso. Okay, what's next? What's next? Oh yeah, we have a cool thing that's going to happen soon. 2 weeks from today, we are going to have a live 5 Question Friday in person. So, myself and Split Tech City and Michael Freer, frequent flyer over here at 5 Question Friday, we are doing a big collab in person. So what we will do is have 5 Question Friday at Smart Space, which is a co-work in Split. And I'm going to be interviewing them about startups and tech and investment in Croatia. It's going to be mega fun. You can come and hang out and ask questions or just watch. And then right after that, Split Tech City is hosting this series that they have been doing for a long time called Locals and Nomads, where nomads get a chance, or not nomads, but foreigners get a chance to meet locals, meet people who are from here, people that have lived here a long time. So that meetup's going to happen immediately after, and we're going to do a mock 5 Question Friday that's going to be focused on digital nomads. Now, that phrase is not one of my favorite. That's for a variety of reasons. One reason that I'm going to share with you today is because, we have this digital nomad permit, but are you really nomadic if you are living here for a year? Not really. So in this context, it applies to digital nomads who maybe are here for a short period of time. It also refers to anyone who feels like they fall into that bucket, that works remotely, or is interested in tech, or really just wants to come and hang out and meet some cool people. So there's actually going to be 5 Question Friday times 2. Only one of them will be here on Instagram. But if you want to come and join us, that's going to be at Smart Space in 2 weeks. We will definitely put up more promotions on the channel so that you can be reminded, but everyone is invited. So I hope to meet you there. Next, also, I have mentioned on a number of occasions that I'm part of this Foreign Business Owners Association here in Split. And we are doing a fundraiser for Udruga Domine in March. And I'm not going to go into all the details right now of what we're going to be doing. I just want to give you the highlights because it is still 5-6 weeks away, but just to drop a bug in your ear. So we're doing a bake sale And our members and then other people that we kind of gather from Split, we're all going to bake some baked goods with lots and lots of love and flour and sell them also in front of Smart Space to raise money for Udruga Domine, which is my favorite Udruga here. They're very near and dear to my heart. And we, Expat in Croatia, did a fundraiser for them a few years ago, but they advocate for women's rights and equality and also do predominantly support for victims of domestic violence. So we will be in, Expat in Croatia will be in cooperation with the Foreign Business Owners Association doing this fundraiser, and I hope all of you will give something or at least come and buy one of my cookies. I'm going to bake lots of stuff. I'm super excited about it. So that's it. We're going to go ahead and dive into the questions now. And if you have a question right now, you can always drop it in the comments and I'll answer it for you here live. I don't know. I've kind of lost my train of thought all of a sudden. It's Friday and I'm a bit giggly. Okay. This one comes from Kat here on Instagram. Would you know what bureaus run credit checks in Croatia? So I am going to make an assumption here about this question. I don't know if I'm right, but for context, I think it's important. I am from the United States, and in the United States, if you do not have good credit, your life is destroyed. It really prevents you from doing a lot of things, like you can't get a rental contract if you have bad credit. It's hard to get a job. You can't get a mobile phone. You can't get internet. Like, they really hold you back if you don't have good credit in the States. It's big business to have good credit in the States, and we have 3 credit bureaus there: TransUnion, Experian, and the other one. I don't know. But they are private companies, and you can pay them to run a credit check, a credit report. You can also pay credit card companies and other services to monitor your credit and like lock down your credit so that nobody else can do anything with it. So because she said bureaus, I presume that Kat is from the US. Maybe not. I'm not familiar with the credit systems in other parts of the world, just Croatia and the US. But I wanted to set that context in case it wasn't clear to anybody what she was referring to. Thankfully, Croatia's credit system is nothing like that. It's much more simple and humane. So we don't have credit bureaus here. We don't have private companies that manage credit, like in that kind of sense, to track credit. What we do have is banks. And banks are the only ones who do credit checks. And they only do credit checks when you're trying to get credit. That's it. You don't have your credit check when you're trying to get an apartment, not buying, not renting, not when you're trying to get a job, not when you're trying to get a phone or internet. It's not a thing. You don't have to pay to protect your credit. Actually, identity theft is not really a thing here, thankfully. So yeah, there's no bureau that does that. I do want to read this one thing to you that my colleague Daniela summarized so nicely. So I would butcher it if I tried to memorize it. So in Croatia, banks define their own conditions for determining the creditworthiness of loan applicants, which can vary by nationality, residence status, and source of income. Croatian versus foreign, that matters, in addition to the amount of income and existing assets. So we have a few things we can send you about the credit system if you would like to know more. There is a calculator for a credit check, which we can send you. That's third party, that's not ours. And then we have 3 guides. So one, how credit works in Croatia. So we kind of go over the entire credit system in greater detail. We have a bank comparison of the 7 largest banks. And that also will show you the pricing and what their services are, how many ATMs they have, because some of the banks are like everywhere, like PVZ, and then some banks are not as common in different parts of the country. Like, for example, I have Erste. I love Erste. I cannot recommend Erste enough, but Erste does not have a huge concentration in Split, but it does up in Rijeka. In Istria. I love going up there. They're fake everywhere. It's amazing. And then we also have a post about who can get a home loan in Croatia. So we called 15 banks in this case, and we asked them what their rules were for considering applicants, because some applicants, they can only be Croatians, and some will consider everybody, and some will only consider Croatian and EU. And so it's important to know. And with foreigners, like third country nationals, you have to have permanent residence. We have not seen a case yet where they've considered somebody without permanent residence. And the rules have just gotten harder since Croatia entered the Schengen. I don't completely understand why Schengen made things more difficult for some reason. It's also made it more difficult to even open up a bank account. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but it really feels kind of valuable. So you can tell me if it's not, but we have seen some changes. So now the banks like really want you to have some kind of valid proof that you need a bank account. Like you're going to be paid a salary into that bank account. Because you don't need a bank account to buy a home here. You don't need a bank account to rent an apartment. So if you don't have a salary going into one, they're really circumspect about that. And it's been very hard for people to open up bank accounts lately. The other thing, one more thing, and then I will move on, I promise. It's also harder for third country nationals who are opening a business to get a bank account. So you usually be able to do that like in a couple of days. And now it's like 2 months because they ask for so many more documents. In fact, we have clients that are using our lawyers because to navigate that bank process, because it's very involved, very, very involved. Okay, we are going to move on now. Thank you so much, Kat, for that question, allowing me to go off on a tangent. I love tangents. Okay. So this next one is from Barbara and Richard. They came in through a consulting session with, I think, Cam. We are very outdoorsy, active, and social seniors. How can we connect with other like-minded retirees, like biking, hiking clubs in Croatia? Excellent question. We have not answered this before. So there are lots of options. Croatia is very community-oriented. So there are options both on the foreign as well as the Croatian side. And even if you don't speak Croatian, joining the Croatian ones can work out sometimes, you know? That's how you meet Croatians. One way that you can meet Croatians. Okay, so they can join senior clubs and can go on activities organized by gerontology, probably in Croatia it'd be gerontology centers, and projects financed by the EU. But there are also expats in the Facebook groups. There are tons of expat groups. I mean, like at least 70 expat groups on Facebook. Not all focused on seniors, but there are seniors in usually all of those groups. We do have a post that has every single expat group on it. So if you would like that, shoot us a DM. We will send it over to you. That also includes the book club that I moderate. And I'm also in a writers group here in Split. That's on there too. And also I moderate the Americans in Croatia Facebook group. There are a lot of Facebook groups. The advice from my team is the best way for seniors to meet is to simply strike up a conversation. In my experience, seniors in Croatia are very talkative, you know, and easy to make friends with them. There are going to be some people who, you know, if they're Croatian, they may hesitate because of language, but not everybody will. Okay, so we've got the expats group. It's not an expat group. It's an event within an expat group. It's in Split. They have a 50+ group that I'm kind of jealous I'm not 50+. It sounds like it's a great group of people. They always show up. They go on excursions. I'm in a lot of groups with people who are in that group, and it sounds super fun. So I would recommend that. We have the direct link to one of the events. They post it every week. They meet at the exact same time. So it's in the Expats Meet Split group. That's under events. You'll always see them. But we can send you a link if you'd like it. There's also something called Klub Pensionary. I butchered that pronunciation. Butchered. but that's not a natural thing for me to say right now. So they have those all over the country, depending on where you want to settle. And then there's a list of clubs, which we can send you. There's recreation for seniors. That's kind of on the nose, I think. So yeah. Oh, there's also the mountaineering club, which I would actually like to do myself. I love hiking around here. It's one of the best things to do. All right. So we have 3 posts for you on this one. Enrich your life in Croatia, how to get to know Croatians. My colleague Maria, our editor-in-chief, she wrote that. Actually, she wrote all 3 of these. So we also have 2 posts, how to understand the Croatian culture, parts 1 and 2. Those are really, really nice articles. I enjoyed reading those. Okay. Now we're ready for our lawyer tip of the week, which is the 2nd week that we are doing this. I had proposed it to our head lawyer, and I wasn't sure what she was going to say about it. And then she got really giddy and was like, yes, here are 5. So we are going to be doing this every week. Now, this is a direct quote from her. If you are contacted, held, or arrested for anything criminal, never speak a word before your lawyer arrives. You are entitled to a lawyer from the first question. Defend yourself with silence. I thought that was great advice. I mean, I know what the Bill of Rights are for the US. They're kind of hammered into us from the moment that we're born. But as far as knowing what the Croatian equivalent is, I think most of us foreigners don't have any idea. So it's good to know what your rights are in these situations, even if you never think you're going to get in that situation, and most likely you will not. But it is important to know what your rights are, because sometimes crazy stuff happens and life can be surprising. You never know. So thank you to her for that. We have had very, very rarely, but of course, like I said, sometimes things happen, and we have been contacted on very, very few occasions where people needed criminal help. And yeah, they needed assistance, and yeah. So we've done that before. It's very rare, but it happens. Okay, so next, our 3rd question. This comes from Rada on the 5-Question Friday forum. I am an American citizen in the process for applying for Croatian citizenship. Are there any tax or free benefits to renting the villa through the DOO, since that is the entity that owns the villa? Excellent question. A DOO is an LLC, in case you do not know. So the only benefit to using a DOO to rent out an accommodation is, if from a tax perspective, is that you can deduct your expenses. When you're doing it as an individual, you can't deduct your expenses. So you just kind of absorb that, and it comes. So that would be the benefit. But you have to understand that there's also costs associated just with running a DOO. You know, you have to have an accountant, you have to file taxes. After a certain amount of income, you have to be in the VAT system, which stinks. There's more costs. So if you can rent it as an individual, then you should. But the thing to keep in mind is only Croatian citizens and EU citizens can rent accommodation as individuals. So if you are third country national, you can't do that, which means you have to open up a company. And if you don't already have the right to work, then you end up down that rabbit hole of hiring 3 full-time Croatians. It's a lot to navigate. So let's return to Rada. So Rada is currently a U.S. citizen, which means that they cannot do it as an individual. So their only option would be a company in this case. So we have guides on how to let out accommodation, how to open up an Obert, which is one form of self-employment, and then how to open up an LLC, types of businesses, things to know before opening up a Croatian company. And we can always put you in touch with a tax advisor if that's something that you need. I highly recommend it. If you're doing business in Croatia, you have to have a lawyer and you have to have an accountant. And I would say, generally speaking, anyone who's living in Croatia at some point or another, they're going to be in a situation where they have to do that. It's super common. They save your life. Okay, so the next question comes from Lynette on email. I have been residing on Sholta Island in my own property on a permanent basis for 5 years and have paid holiday tax. When I brought this up at my local council in Grohote, where I pay, they said that even though I was a permanent resident, I still had to pay as I was a non-citizen. I have been issued bills every year in the month of May. My electricity and water bills are proof that I reside here permanently. So, Croatia has a tax on second homes, vacation home tax. So owners of holiday homes have to pay a tax of between like 60 cents and €5 per square meter. And that amount is determined by the local government. It's not based on nationality. It is based on residence. So too often, people at the government will use, well, you're not Croatian as a reason for things, when they're just assuming that that's the right answer. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it is not. So how does Croatia know how often you use your home? Well, it goes by your registered address. So Croatian citizens, EU citizens, permanent third country nationals, they can have 2 addresses. They can have a permanent and they can have a temporary. But not everyone has that option. Third country nationals don't have that option. And if you are a Croatian citizen that lives abroad, you don't have that option. You only have the one. So that's how they determine it, is whether or not you have a permanent address or you have a temporary address. And that's all based on residence permit or citizenship. So in this case, Lynette says that she's a permanent resident. So that means that she would be living full-time year-round on Sholta. And if that's the case, and she's being charged as tax, she should not be being charged as tax. That would not be right. So I would say in her case, going and trying to rebuild records of her travel in combination with her utility bills, which she said she already tried to give them, she needs to dispute it. And if not, then that's when I would get a lawyer involved or use some kind of connection to try and sort that out. Because why pay a tax that you don't owe? So it all depends on how long she's here each year. And that's something I don't know. So we have a post about all the taxes that you could possibly pay in Croatia. So if you would like that, let us know. It has all the rates and all the different taxes. And they vary by very granular situations. All right, so this is our last question, I think. Yes. Anonymous on a consulting call. Our oldest will be able to get his U.S. driver's license before we move. With this, would he be able to drive our car in Croatia even if he's not 18? I'm surprised that we have not gotten this one yet, if I'm being honest. In America, we drive very young. I had my driver's license when I was 16. So if I was coming to Croatia with my family, would I be able to exchange my driver's license? Because people with foreign driver's license can exchange their driver's licenses. So this is a really natural question. So a foreign driver's license for driving a D1 or D category motor vehicle, but will not be recognized for persons under 24. For C, 21, C1, and B, what does all that mean? Like, C category, I believe, is the one for driver's licenses. So they need to be 21 to be able to drive. That's the bare minimum. And B category is 18, which I think is like scooters. So that's the answer, unfortunately, in this case. We do have a source, and that's from MUP. So we go straight to the source on some things. We also have a guide on how to exchange driver's licenses, foreign driver's licenses, and also all of the driver categories so that you know what they are and how long you can get a license for each. Okay. Stick a fork in me. I am done. This was a great week. I got so much done. I really loved it. And now I'm going to rest. And tomorrow I'm supposed to go to Makarska, except it's going to be raining all day. And there's going to be some serious Yugo. Why not drive down the coast? Thanks so much for being here. This has been 5 Question Friday. I am Sarah. Bye-bye. Vidimose.